um, since I've come on here and talked to all of you. I've not really weighed in, like on video, on the whole, um, Israeli war that's going on, or the war in Israel, the attacks against Israel by Hamas. Uh, I haven't really weighed in much on that. I've been posting quite a few things about it on mostly on Instagram, on my Instagram stories. So if you're not following me on Instagram, there's a lot of good shareable content I'm doing on my stories. So make sure that you get there, that you are following me on Instagram, because it's stuff that you can share with your friends, especially right now with the whole Israel thing. Real factual stuff, because there's a propaganda war going on right now, and I'm kind of shocked by it. And I've commented about it. My wife's like, it's nothing new. What do you expect? And I go, yeah, but this is different. Like, I wasn't. I guess what it is the mainstream media are now not even trying to be impartial right now. Israel versus Palestinian thing, and it's even that title, Israel versus Palestinians. It's not the Palestinians that they are at war with right now. It's Hamas. Hamas is the elected government of Gaza, but they're a terrorist organization, and they're carrying out terrorist attacks against the Israeli people. And they are injuring their own Arab populations in so doing. In fact, many of the deaths that are reported among the Palestinians, where it's like, oh, the Israeli, 20 people died, including women and children. Oh, evil Israel. Some of those, attacks, or some of those deaths, are actually from Palestinian rockets that misfired and landed in their own territory, killing their own people. That's one of the things going on. You see, I forgot how many rockets it is that have been misfired. Palestinian Hamas rockets that were aimed at Israel that misfired and landed in Palestinian controlled areas. Plus, many of these rockets are being launched from densely populated areas. Hamas uses their own people as human shields. Israel, when they're targeting military targets, they have to do it in a way to minimize civilian casualties, many times giving them warning. When they went after the media building in Gaza, see, that's how it's being reported. Oh, they destroyed a media building. The AP, CNN, Al Jazeera, we're all there. Now, some of us on the right who hate the media, who hate those, propaganda media, we're like, oh, good riddance. Can they do that, with the CNN building here in Atlanta? We would, give them a pat on the back if they could do that. And I'm speaking tongue in cheek before anyone thinks I'm advocating for violence against American media. But what's not being reported is this media where in the building was Hamas. And this was not like Hamas had one little office. This was not like they had their tourism office in there. It's not like they had their social media operations there. No, they had a major presence occupying several floors of the building, and armed military personnel would come and go from that building. Everyone who worked in that building knew it. So one, why was media sharing a building with a terrorist organization? And then they were given an hour warning to get out. Now, an hour gives you a lot of time. An hour gives you plenty of time to evacuate all of the people, plus get like the important stuff out. So, they had plenty of time before Israel struck it. You see, Israel is allowing targets to escape. They're allowing military targets to escape, so that there's no so that there's a minimization of civilian casualties. The media is not explaining that. The media is not talking about that. You know, there was a collapse of several apartment buildings recently, in the last couple of days. Well, it was after Israel went bombed and took out some tunnels. Well, it sounds like Hamas was building tunnels too close to the foundations and created, unstable ground conditions of those apartment buildings. No one's talking about how Hamas is endangering its own people by putting, military terrorist operations in residential areas. They're not talking about that. So what's going on? Why is the media doing their job? Well, one, the media has been infiltrated by two groups of people. One, it's been infiltrated by communists. Much of the media is controlled by globalist, socialist, communists. And also, the media has been very much infiltrated by a lot of Muslims. So we have actually anti-Israeli, anti-Jew Muslims who are writing for CNN. And if you're on social media, you'll see, screenshots. There was one guy who was recently outed who had, written like death, something I think about death to Israel and pro-Hitler stuff. And he was writing for, I think it was CNN. This is shocking. This is absolutely shocking. See, if a right-wing outlet, I don't care what it would be, Breitbart, OAN, Epoch Times, Newsmax, anything right-wing was employing someone who is borderline anti-Semitic. Look at all the criticism that Bannon got, Well, every Jew who ever worked for Bannon spoke so highly of him. But look how Bannon is vilified as this like horrible anti-Semite in charge of Breitbart, while mainstream corporate media employs people who literally post pro-Hitler propaganda. Come on, what's going on here? So what I find interesting is the media is becoming increasingly hostile to God's people, both the Jews and the Christians. And they would say, oh, no, we're not hostile to Jews. Look at how many Jews work in the media. It's kind of ironic when you look at, like, far-right, anti-Semitic, like, white nationalist stuff and, the white power movement or European identitarian movements and stuff, and they talk about the Zionist-controlled media. It's true there's a lot of Jews in the media, but they're not Zionists. They're liberal, self-hating Jews. It's just like there's a lot of progressive Christians in the movement, but they hate Christianity. Now, they would deny that, but you look at, like, the hatred that comes against traditional Christian values from people who call themselves Christian. You look at the hatred of Jews, and you can't say, like, oh, no, I just don't think Israel should exist. Like, I'm not anti-Jew. I'm just opposed to Israel. 43% of the world's Jews live in Israel. That's like saying, oh, I don't believe, Jews should die, but I do support Hitler's Holocaust, because that's what would happen if Israel ceased to exist. If the Arab extremists within the Middle East succeeded in their cry from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, that's not a two-state solution they're talking about when you break down that statement. It's a one-state. It's Israel not existing. Read the Hamas charter if you don't believe me. 43% of the world's Jewry would cease to exist. Because look at what the Arabs have done to the Jewish populations in every Arab-dominated country. Those countries have been emptied of their Jewish populations. Iraq, okay? Iraq has had Jews for like 3,000 years roughly. large Jewish population, because you have to think it's former Babylon. Okay, Babylon, historic Babylon is found within modern day Iraq. So during during the Babylonian captivity, there were a lot of Jews who never made it back to Israel. They stayed in Babylon. They had their communities. They had Jewish cities. 100 years ago, Baghdad was 30% Jewish. Now, I think there's less than a dozen Jews in Baghdad. I mean, there's not even a kosher grocery store. There's not enough Jews for that. It used to be 30%. Huge Jewish population in Iran. Why? It was Persia. Okay? I could go on and on. There were Jews scattered all throughout the Middle East. Well, with the Arabization of the Middle East and the Islamification, Jews lived as lesser citizens, but it was still a live and let live for most of history. Once in a while there would be conflict and genocide, but for the most part they were allowed to live. Then Israel is established as a state, and all of these Arab countries expel their Jewish population. Israel is the largest refugee camp in the world. People talk about, Gaza is the largest open-air prison. Well, you haven't been to Gaza. You haven't seen pictures of Gaza. It's not a prison. Do people suffer in Gaza? Yeah, it would be a lot better if it wasn't for Hamas, diverting international aid and I'm sorry, I just got a text from work. So that was distracting me. But got some nerve wracking news. Just a side note. So basically, so you guys know why I'm like, I work for a bank. Once a year, we get audited. It's an internal compliance audit. So it's by our own compliance department, just to make sure that we're doing everything right. And they observe our processes of how we do things. How we open the vault, how we close the vault. How we open the branch, close the branch. They quiz us on all sorts of compliance stuff, and so it's kind of nerve wracking. It's kind of stressful, and I just got a text from my manager that the auditor showed up today, this morning, and I'm like, oh, great. And what's hilarious is I originally had today as my day off. Yeah, I originally had it scheduled off. So, and then last week I decided to work today anyway. Oh man, I could have missed the audit. Oh boy. Anyway, I'll be in good shape. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'll be in excellent shape. So, yeah, just a few things I need to button down on. But anyway, oh boy, that is just hilarious. So anyway, but so Israel is the refuge of every Jew in the world. Every Jew knows that if they can't live in their own country, that they have a home in Israel, that Israel will take any Jew throughout the world. Well, they were kind of a third world country when they first started. I mean, they started with nothing. It was a bunch of Holocaust survivors for the most part. And miraculously, they formed this country that now they I'm on this group text. But now they've created this incredible economic powerhouse. man. I mean, Israel is just an incredible, incredible country. I mean, I don't think any other country has ever really done what Israel has done. And the world is jealous of it. And so what we are seeing is an antichrist spirit arising. That is what we are seeing, is an antichrist spirit arising. And that's why we're seeing the hatred, the absolute hatred of the Jewish people, of Israel, and of Christians. And they don't mind wishy-washy Jews. That's the thing. They don't mind wishy-washy Jews. They don't mind wishy-washy Christians, progressive Christians. They actually want those compromised Jews. They want those compromised Christians. They don't mind them. And that's why there's this media war against God's people, against the Israelis, against the Orthodox Jews, against traditional Christianity. The two are linked. The two are linked. So we need to continue to fight. We need to continue to war. And how do we do this? One, it's done in the spirit of prayer. We need to pray for the protection of God's people, both Christian and Jew. We also need to not be silent. We need to speak out against this. And what we have is, I've been saying, social media has revolutionized the modern era. It has put the power back in the hands of the people to get out the narrative. The problem is the far left has the same platform. So who will win? Will it be the Sean Keens and the anti-Semites, or will it be us advancing the truth? So I just want to encourage all of you to let your voices be heard. Not be silent. Educate yourselves on the truth and educate those around you. God bless all of you, and may God bless Israel.